Okay, I'm going to share with you what I know about the program as of this date. I am by no means an expert in the program. I'm just sharing what I know so far. So if Jem or anybody else listens to my videos and has suggestions or says hey, you got this wrong, please, please, please do tell me, because I love to learn and I like to share knowledge. So Daz was asking about making his own motif fills and stitch patterns. So I was going to just show you basically how you do a stitch pattern. So I'm going to make a stitch pattern of leaves. And the most important thing, and a thing I think you were missing, Daz, in your video, is you can't just make a circle and draw it, add a fill to it. Well, select it, add a fill to it. See, I tell you, I always am guilty of not selecting. Add a fill and change the spacing and then save it as, loose fill and think that it's going to be a stitch pad. It's not going to be. That is an object. So I'm going to delete that because that's not how you make one. To make a stitch pattern, you're going to make the actual stitches one by one. So if I wanted to make a leaf pattern, I would start at 0, 0, which means I'm going to zoom way in here and make sure that I'm right at 0, 0. And I think you can be a little bit off, but your stitch pattern always has to start at 0, 0. So let's say I wanted this to be about 1/4 of an inch leaf. So I'm going to go ahead with my curve tool and make a couple little points and maybe end on that 1/4 inch line, then come back down and go over to here. And then I'm going to come back over to here so that I have something to connect to the next when it repeats this pattern. So I'm going to stop here, but I'm also going to do some editing because I don't want my, actually I'm going to delete that point and switch to a line so that I just have a line here. I'm going to stop about here. I'm going to go ahead and edit my shape. And I'm going to say end drawing. Then I'm going to pick it and I'm going to edit points and I'm going to pull this up so that it is, I'm going to have it in just shy of my line that is going to start my next pattern. And then I'm going to, I usually make mine an as drawn single because I actually want it to be exactly as I drew it, and a single. Let's see if that ends up working right. That does not look good. So then I'm going to pick just single, and that will probably, there we go. That gives me the shape I want it. And so anyway, so now what you're going to do to test this and see if you like it, let's just draw a circle. And we will select the circle. But before we select the circle, let's copy our stitches on this. Starting at the 0, 0 and going to there, we're going to go up and we're going to say, have it selected and go edit, copy stitches. Now we're going to select the circle we drew and we're going to say edit, paste stitches to a stitch pattern file. No, paste stitches to stitch pattern, not to the file yet. So paste stitches to a stitch pattern. Or you can paste them as a motif fill. But I'm going to paste them as a stitch pattern first and show you that. And so then it will take what I have, it'll make the leaf, and then that little line goes across and gives it a space between them to make the next new little leaf and a space line, and it just continues around. And then if you look down in here in your settings, there's all kinds of things you can do. Like you can flip your pattern, so you can say true to flip your pattern. So then it flips it onto the inside versus the outside. See, watch, if I flip it back, it'll go onto the outside of that circle line. So there's neat little things you can do there too. Now I could also undo this and I could edit, paste stitches to motif fill. Well, I have to select it first. Edit, paste stitches to motif fill. and it will give me this little Ripley looking pattern. And of course, this one is hidden. So that would give me kind of like a continuous looping leaf looking pattern. So what we want to do now that we like it is we're going to delete our testing circle, and then we're going to take our stitch pattern that we like, and we're going to say File, Save Custom File as a stitch pattern, and we're going to call this Daz Leaf. How about? We'll name it after Daz. So this is what you had done before, but you weren't started at 0, 0, and you were trying to save a whole entire object as a stitch pattern, and a stitch pattern is just whatever it is that's repeating. So we're going to call this Daz Leaf and save it. And then we'll go to a new sheet of paper and we will open up a heart, and we will select our heart. Now this time when we open up our motif fills, it's going to repopulate, because last time I had 117. So now it's going to repopulate. I'm going to have to wait till it loads all of the stitch patterns that it had, because motifs are basically, see, it's a stitch pattern. So they're basically a stitch pattern that are being applied as a fill. And some that you make will be pretty, some that you make will be ugly. If you don't like them, there's a way to delete them. I'll show you that in a minute. Let's see here if I can. I wonder if I open. Let me open a new window. I was going to open a new window and show you while we were waiting. So we're at 86. That's not bad. So this is the window you're used to though already. So you've seen all this before when you just play with it. Play with everything, but play with it gentle. If the number is 0, don't make it 100, because most of the time you're going to end up with a blue spinning ball, because the computer is trying to calculate some horribly difficult algorithm or complex, algebraic equation or something. So grow small. If its angle is 0, go, angles you can go a bigger jump, but like the gap after, go to 1. Go to -1, go to 2, but don't go to 100 right off the bat. Just take little baby steps most of the time when you're doing any changes to this. So now that it's populated the whole list over and added that one that I added in, we can go down to the D's, and we should have, there we have it, Daz Stitch Pat. So I'm going to pick it, and I'm going to say okay. Okay. Go away. There we go. And there we have it. It is, the leaf pattern is applied to the heart. And if you zoom way in, so you can see it kind of looks a little different than it did in a circle. But at 100%, it would look like that. Give it a nice satin around the edge. Something happened here. And if I think about this, I think I could figure out what. So let's flip it just to see if that helps to add stitches to line false. Let's try making that true and see if that fixes that. I forgot how you fix that. Let's see if that did it. No. There is something, and there's a setting, and Jim switched these recently, and I haven't played with it as much. So let me flip this, and if it's not that, then I think it's back on that other screen. So let me try flipping it and seeing what happens. Flipping it kind of took care of it. So it might be a flaw in my stitch pattern, or I might have alternate columns. I think I need to have that turned on true. So let's see if that does it. That's probably the difference. I think that's it, because then it goes down and it alternates. So there, it fixed that gap in the center there. Still have a little tiny bit of one, But sometimes I just don't know what is causing that problem. So let's see if I can figure that out. Probably because it's not getting what would fix this right now. I can tell it's not able to draw that whole entire section. So what would fix this actually is kind of a goofy little thing. Like I said, there's probably another way to do this, but if I just simply resized a little bit, I bet you $10 to a donut it'll fix it. So let's just see if it does. And there it did. It fixed it. So it just basically wasn't able to get that pattern up enough, so it was gapping right in the middle of the leaf. So let me see if I can show you what it was doing. See how these are all being able to be somewhat formed even if they're cut off? That one was stopping right before this point, so it didn't really have a place to draw, so it just restarted. So it's just, sometimes when you get that, you just simply resize just an itty bitty smidge, and it will then form a nice pretty pattern again. Okay, so then the way that you can delete a pattern is to open your custom files and go to your stitch patterns. So if you made one that you just absolutely cannot stand, God, I don't ever want to see that again. It was a total and complete train wreck, like maybe my tire wide. Then I would just go there, pick it, and then hit the delete key, and poof, she'd be gone. But I don't want it gone, so I'm not going to hit the delete key to show you. So, hope that helps a little bit. Let me know if that answers your questions.